Everybody, we're really excited to be with you today. I wanted to share this page for a few reasons. There's a quote on the start page about Kernel. It says, Kernel is not about overwhelming you with information. It is about slowly building, through repeated interactions with peers, the patterns, both internal and external, required for a better web. Kernel serves up to 150 Kernel Fellows at any time, technologists, artists, engineers, researchers, musicians, ecologists, designers, linguists, and people beyond this distinctions in furthering specific projects via an ongoing peer-to-peer learning environment. Um, Today is Showcase, and there's kind of two notes about Showcase worth saying. One is we're just so excited to have the people here today presenting and expressing just through their work the way that their projects go beyond the distinctions here and hopefully help us build these patterns required for a better web. Um, we want to get right into it because we have 20 presentations. Thanks to everyone for being here. First and foremost, the presenters, and of course, to the mentors and guests who have made some time to observe the projects. Um, my only ask is a really simple one, which is do whatever you need to pay the closest attention you can, and try to help consider alongside these projects the ways that you might be contributing to either their work or to the web more broadly. So we hope that the hour and the 20 different presentations gives everyone new and fresh ideas about how they themselves might make their own contributions. The apply link to Kernel for everyone who'd like is always open, and we're making it an emphasis of ours that it's an ongoing environment even between blocks. So that goes for Kernel Fellows and KBX who want to continue on after this moment as well. We're going to start with Rev, with commit, and then continue onwards with 10 presentations before a short break. So it'll be Rev, Clara, and Will, and then we'll keep everyone else posted in the chat. I'll have a small, quiet timer on my side helping move us along. But Rev, we would love to start with you.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I'm Rev, founder of Commit. We're building on-chain accountability protocol, and today I would like to show you more. So I'd like to start with a really big idea that we call commitment market. If we think of commitments as promises with consequences, then there's a question, how big is the actual market of the commitments? Because if you think of it, everything around us is pretty much a commitment. So that was a little bit of rabbit hole, going deep, but TLDR, if we break commitments into three sort of big categories, like contracts, jobs, different services, and national debt and all of that, consumers, subscriptions, loans, etc., and the social promises that we make to each other, promises, our routines, going to gym, etc., then that market becomes significantly large. I mean, it might be even to extent where 50, $80 trillion might seem like a big numbers. Now, let's take a moment to imagine a world where the commitments are programmable. They're transparent, traceable, and enforced on chain thanks to the nature of the blockchains. And that's what we're building with. If you think of commits as programmable commitments, there's four important ingredients. Credible commitments, there's trustless, powered by blockchain. They're programmable thanks to the smart contract and nature of them. They're tokenized, and this actually is extremely exciting because it creates a novel asset class of tokenized promises or commits. And there's another layer of behavior side where that because of this programmable accountability, the new social behavior can arise from that. So this is committed numbers. We've been live for the last 3 months, but we've been experimenting for half a year. This month we had around 500 active users, and we're growing slowly. But I would like to take a moment to quickly show you a demo of the product. So this is work in progress as kind of explore page. You can see all different commits here. I'll just open one, for example. You can see, the commit here, the description, TLDR, building public, share on socials. You can see participants, different rewards. These are fully permissionless. Anyone can add rewards to incentivize people more. We have updates, work in progress feature. Then, creating commit is simple. You can put the title, choose image, description, category, tokens, then stake amount. The basic idea is, there's a goal that you want to commit to. Usually it's a social goal. Let me show you actually an example of the health one. So there was this, sports goal. People committed to the sports, and share updates. They all staked this amount of tokens, and you can see all total staked. Then there was extra rewards, and people who basically won, they claim back their stake, loser share, and additional rewards. That's pretty much it. The last thing I'll just share here. If someone wants to connect with me, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. We're working on the timer, but Rev, thank you. Commitment markets, we think, have large applicability beyond the financial. And Clara, we'd love you to present next on your work in regenerative land.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. So I'm going to present Federica Protocol, leveraging my experience in architecture field, incubating housing projects, housing commons, and lands, blockchain, and also 10 years of experience in the tourism industry while I was a student. So here's my hometown situation, Barcelona. That's the challenge that I'm trying to solve. Last 10 years, rents have increased 68%, salaries 3.4, and you have like a very low rate of social housing. In the other side, it's a gentrified city that forced 50% of the locals displaced in the last 10 years, while revenue for hotels, it's increasing every year, representing more than 1.5 billion per year. So there's a profit capture failure where tourism profits flow to private operators and global platforms, while public costs remain community burdens. I'm also leveraging the fact that there's a new social impact trend in tourism, where the current addressable market is 58 billion in social tourism and expected to almost double in the next 10 years. And almost 40%, more than 40% of tourists say that they will be willing to pay more for social or sustainable impact on their trips. So here's Federica Protocol, a wealth distribution mechanism that flows tourism profits, some of them, to affordable housing. Phase one, where I'm currently working right now, is like prototype research and protocol development. We'll follow by an MVP hypothesis, so integrating it with local partners, offering as benefits being part of a network of social impact accommodation providers, membership-based tiers for client, business certification for local social impact. Imagine like diamond, golden, and attracting, especially like this market of tourism that care for about like the positive local impact, following by creating the first network accommodation, so securing the buying and land for hospitality to attract these members of the network before scaling it. So I'll quickly go through a diagram. So you need to imagine that at both ages, we have like housing and land commons removed from the market and state dynamics. So we ensure long affordability of prices, and then funds flowing from the tourism industry, the network sovereignty of tourism accommodation, to the network sovereignty of affordable housing and lands commons that can also create sort of like loops inside the same affordable housing to return funds or funds lent or the distribution of some funds once they are the credit is returned to the pool of resources. With that, we ensure housing implemented as universal right and resources protected for future generations. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Clara. Next up, we have Will McCollum, PhD student at the University of Chicago and creator of a protocol called Potlatch.
All right, hi everyone. My name is Will McCollum. I'm a PhD candidate in anthropology at the University of Chicago. In the past several months, I've been working on developing Potlatch, which is a protocol enabling physical exchange of goods or commerce with blockchain-enabled privacy. With the gift for me, I wanted to send a book to a podcaster, a sort of small podcaster. I'd engaged with him online, but I didn't feel comfortable asking for his address. And I realized this is probably a generalizable problem in an online environment where people are often hesitant to share their addresses with others. And it's even further extrapolated from there, where not just gifts, but any exchange relation, exchange of goods, physical goods, requires forfeiting personal information. Either to each other, but also with third parties who act as kind of data vaults, data banks. Blockchain has solved the problem of privacy and the exchange of digital assets, but it remains unsolved in physical commerce. So Potlatch enables private and secure P2P commerce as a trustless protocol and infrastructure, not as a platform, no account creation required. It's based on a smart escrow and a node-based architecture that makes it sort of similar to Tor or onion routing as a system. And Potlatch plays a role as a blind off-chain oracle, but only a partial verifier. The final verifier is the buyer. The buyer and seller remain totally blind to each other's IRL identities. Like I said, it's based on a node system. So in this kind of simplified diagram, the buyer and seller at the top agree to transact, and then the seller passes on the top left counterclockwise through a series of nodes. Potlatch is the verifying node here and doesn't see where it's coming from or where it's going. And is a yes/no oracle in terms of just ensures that the package's contents are legal. So legality is the question and says yes or no based on that, but the buyer is the verifier. I see this as really taking effect in three communities. First, in anonymous communities that live online, in Reddit, Discord, Twitter, Farcaster, etc. They really need something like this now. Also, Web3 folks get it immediately and need it now as well, alongside privacy tech. But I imagine this scaling towards full decentralization, where anyone in the network participants are incentivized to play the role as nodes, as oracles. So right now I'm gearing up to run a small pilot testing program out of my house here, shown represented here. And I'm looking for participants in the testing program. I've tested and deployed the verification mechanism on chain, but now I'm looking to experiment with the actual shipping system. And if you're interested, you can reach out to me at wmccollum@proton.me. Or sign up at potlatchtrade.xyz for updates. Thank you.
Amazing. And if you're interested in Potlatch, feel free to react to the message I just put in the Zoom chat. Next up, we have Acacia with Concordance. And thanks again to Will for the great presentation.
Awesome. Okay. So, hi everyone, my name is Acacia. I'm building Concordance. I'm an engineer building developer tools because I believe that the biggest issue in Web3 right now is making blockchain a viable foundation for coordination problems. And a lot of people would say, no, blockchains, we solved that, right? Like Bitcoin's been a thing for a while. but I want to put an emphasis on the viability portion of things. I think that there's a small subset of problems. I think we've cryptographically cracked it, but like the subset of problems that this solves is trustless peer-to-peer token exchange. And I think coordination extends far beyond that. We all know that blockchains are these token transfer facilitators, and those tokens can represent numeric values, and it's easy for us to make things like coins. The token value inside of a blockchain can also peg to something like a CID, and we can attach some maybe like piece of art in association with the token. But fundamentally, I would say that that's not where coordination happens. That's a one-dimensional plane, and I think coordination happens at higher orders of dimension. And what I mean by that is enabling the ability to track a relationship. And we have this in some ways with Web3, right? When we look at quadratic funding, we can see that the amount rewarded to a project increases in relationship to the number of people who contribute. And so protocols allow us to add another dimension to the kind of problems we can solve on the blockchain. But fundamentally, I think there's this natural upper bound that we create with the coordination problems with these tools that we have at hand, because state machines manage tokens. And because I believe that most coordination problems are multidimensional, I really want to push the types of dimensions that are available for the blockchain to perform coordination. So when we look at economic models, when we look at supply chain, we're talking about multidimensional relationships. And what I mean by that, because it gets kind of hard for us to intuit as humans about like what higher orders of dimension are, you can think of something like velocity, or you can think of something like demand. Demand understands the relationship between price and the quantity of goods, and it talks about how it changes over time. So we always say demand increased, 10% this quarter, because we're talking about the relationship between price and the quantity of goods and its change over time. So concordance, I won't get into higher orders of dimension, but concordance is focused on these like multi-dimensional coordination problems and unlocking that for the blockchain. So we want to honor and respect the fact that a lot of problems have multiple dimensions, and we want to basically act like a protocol adapter that takes those higher dimensions and reduces them down into calculations that the blockchain can perform while maintaining trustless and permissionless compute. So I know I'm over time here, but I want to give you my contact information. I'm specifically looking for angels who want to support this project and really open up the kind of coordination that we can do on blockchain. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Acacia. Would highly recommend reaching out. Next, we have Vesta with Aesthetic Realms.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Yeah, my name is Vesta, and I'm the creator of Devon. And so Aesthetics Realms is really an entry point for people who aren't traditionally technical, but are deeply attuned to emergent systems. It's really about feeling the evolving web. So I've had a journey of over 8 years in Web3, and I decided to come into kernel with this question of what if there's more than one way to understand the web? Personally, for me, something that's been revealed is that there's this innate ability to sense technical systems based off of aesthetics and cultural signals. Some of us here are builders, we're mapping the terrain, thinking logically, which is really beautiful. Some of us here are the dark matter, we sense systems, and that to me is really interesting. So Aesthetic Realms is actually a lens from a science fiction story I wrote a couple years ago, where I speculated the future of our digital psychology. And what I did during kernel is I decided that I wanted to fuse dimensions of culture with infrastructure. So I was really inspired by the work of Aaron Meyer and Christopher Alexander. And you can see here, there's like a spectrum, 7 spectrums that you can use as a prism to look through any kind of tool, protocol, or system and explore it. And so I really enjoyed doing that. And I talk about it on Notion. But then what I really wanted to do is I was quite inspired, and I picked a few of them out and decided to do 2 things. One is in the human sense of sense making. I decided to look at kernel and wanted to explore more relational aspects. So there were two things I did. One was a creative meditation on harnessing your digital energy, and another one was a co-created event called Warm Uploads, where we connected with digital artifacts and explored the emotional undercurrents of this. And there's a lot of rich insight that actually came out of this. And it was just so beautiful to see that we have this innate mode of sensing. And there's actually, it goes so deep when you connect the physical with the digital. And then I wanted to have some fun in the technical realm. Because what's happening at the moment, there's this platform called KBX that's running a tournament of DeFi agents. So as an experiment, I thought it'd be really fun to create this furry little creature called Embodied, who reads infrastructure and processes on-chain activity and maps it out for cultural intent. And so I've kind of built the architecture for it, but it hasn't really been born yet. But yeah, there's a pitch and a Twitter page up. But I'm really excited to actually see what kind of insight comes out of that. And it's really just about being playful and wholesome. As you can see, Davon in general is shifting how we relate to digital systems. Aesthetic realms itself is kind of like the blueprint, which was born out of an idea, out of a feeling that I then turned into a framework, applying it to technical and human systems. I'm rooting in Portugal at the moment, so what I would really love is to actually connect with people here. I'm looking for one solid collaborator to help me strategize Devon's next chapter and a research or institution partner. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Vesta. Thinking about who might be around in Portugal, and thank you for aesthetic realms in general. Next, we have Steph with Kitoki.
Hey, hello. I will start with a little presentation here. So welcome to Kitoki. What is Kitoki? Kitoki is all about realizing sustainable development goals through art platforms. How we're doing this is in multiple ways, but the most forward-thinking ways that I can come up with is quality education, which is about skill sharing. So in Hitoki, we kind of share skills based on quality. We think about how to create value by sharing information a bit beyond thinking of offer and demand. Also, if you know something, how to make it possible for others. And then in the kernel block, I've been doing quite a lot of interviews. So interviews is all about like how to get to know each other through text. Around this, we're developing a small kind of test case. About gender equality, we've been working through our video dance festival because instead of focusing on gender identity or identity politics, we think about empowerment of the body through dance and seeing dance as a kind of language, which is still a kind of contemporary form of universality. So there's quite a lot of freely available work there, which is not about selling it, it's about free access, also creating access for persons that normally don't see this kind of artwork. Then we've been working about decent work. So what is decent work? So how not to get into debt, how to put your money where your mouth is, how to create stable value. So in a kind of uncertain world, how to create something which provides for fair pay and provides for social protection. So these are kind of our values. And then the main thing that is kind of a little quirk in our project, which is still mostly a Web 2 project. So the next step would be to actually think about how to scale this. And for this, I'm also looking for partners to help to develop skill shares around this, is how to create limited disparity. So something that automatically redistributes when a community or an artist ecosystem or any type of society is having a large disparity. So how to do a development around this kind of a redistribution mechanism. For this, we're building a Web 2 case. which I will just go through. So here we're just in the middle of developing this. So just to give you a small idea, instead of money, we can actually send a character to each other. So, hey, time is flowing. And then by sending this, like an artist will receive these characters, which then also resemble the numerical value of it. And of course, between the different wallets, you cannot have more than a 4 times difference. Thank you.
Time is flowing. Thank you, Steph. Next up, we have Sam with hyper personal technology, perhaps Tiny Cloud.
Okay. All right. Hey, everyone. I'm Sam Balfa, and I'm the founder of Tiny Cloud. And at Kernel, I've been thinking particularly about personal technology and what's needed to make it safe. Examples of deeper personal technology in the past have only been Trojan horses. We could look at something like the Instagram timeline. It's very personal to you and shows you more than your friends' posts, but it's built with adversarial goals. And people go through extreme measures to keep your tech away from them, right? Including like locking their phones physically away from themselves. When we look at the future of personal AI, there's like really powerful technology coming that could be really great. Something like an AI pendant that captures everything you're saying. Could be really good or really bad. For example, if you had everything said for last year, you can learn a lot about yourself, right? Maybe you're learning Spanish and you're making language errors that an AI can identify. Can identify what you actually know, what you think you know, and maybe what you should learn next. And it could help you better than a person actually could. It could help you with things like your emotions, things you struggle with, things that you really want to do, but you're just never able to get done. And this tech is really powerful, but it can be used for really deep manipulation. Corporations, governments, and future intelligence can have access to your most personal data. And you don't really have a way to kind of control who has access to what. And so this is what I think about at Tiny Cloud. So Tiny Cloud, we're building a sovereign data lake for individual people. It's all your data in one place for complex AI uses. It's everything you say, everything you see, your biometric data, your heart rate, your sleep data, all of this in one place where you control who has access, where the data lives. And if you monetize it, you can. Your data is fundamentally valuable. It's not just data breadcrumbs or data exhaust, which kind of indicate that it's garbage. It's actually the maybe gold ore that these companies really value. And critical to getting value out of this is sovereignty. Sovereignty is the uncompromised power to say yes, no to something that in the physical world, you can share it with whoever you want. It's really obvious. But in the digital world, if you put something in motion, maybe you don't have access to it. Maybe you live in Russia and then your access is banned, or maybe they use it to train Notion AI, right? This is a bunch of products. And so at Tiny Cloud, we care about having true ownership over your data, making it interoperable so you can use your data where you want it to go. It's private by design, and it's built for deeply personal AI that is actually really amplifying you. It's not just cloud, it's a relationship between people, their data, and their applications. So we're a small, talented team. We're looking to raise a pre-seed. So we're looking for investors who think about AI, knowledge management, intersection of crypto and AI, other founders who want to work together, just aligned parties. We have some products, some technologies, and some experiments we're running, and would love to share those with you. If you go to this tinycloud.xyz/labs, this QR code, you can get in contact with me, and you can also see what we're building. We have a really cool demo that lets you use your Ethereum keys to permission access to some of your data. So yeah, with that, I'd like to thank everyone for their time, and excited to connect with those who this resonates with. Thanks.
Thank you, Sam. I mean, some of those experiments really got me going yesterday, and
I don't have time. I don't have time to show you, but I'm excited. I'm excited.
Soon. Next, Mike with impact. Hey, Mike, I think you might still be muted.
All right, sorry about that. Can you guys hear me and can you guys see my screen?
You can.
All right, perfect. So my name is Mike, and today I want to talk about a major myth that I'd like to dispel in crypto and in economics more broadly that is keeping us back. And this myth has to deal with public goods and value capture. Every mechanism that we have today, both in the traditional world and in crypto, relies on an external source of funding for funding public goods instead of the public good being able to capture value and then regenerate funding through that process. And one of the reasons that we don't have that mechanism is because of a myth that public goods cannot capture value. And that starts with the idea is that because public goods are non-excludable, because you cannot restrict people from using them, that's why they cannot capture value. And I'd like to argue that that's not the reason why public goods cannot capture value at the moment. The reason is that we don't have coordination structures that allow them to do that. And if we had such a coordination structure, then we would be able to capture the value of public goods. And we see that already today with network security on blockchains. Network security, we fund it to the tune of trillions of dollars because there is a coordination structure in the form of blockchains with consensus mechanisms that allow us to capture that value. And we can look at it also in businesses and companies, that businesses and companies can capture the value of commercial goods, and that's why we have commercial goods in the economy. So if we distill what works for companies and what works for network security on blockchains, we can come up with a coordination structure for public goods. And I'd like to term that network economies. And what's needed is alignment, consensus, funding, and feedback loops. Now, I've been working with Abundance Protocol on the value consensus mechanism to enable this system to work. But I don't think this is something that one individual or one organization can solve on its own. I believe that this is a major issue that if we want to fund public goods to the tune of trillions of dollars, we need a crypto-wide effort to solve this problem. And that's my ask today, that if this is something that you're interested in, if you'd like to contribute to solving the problem of value capture in public goods, then let's coordinate around this issue. You have my contact and we can go from there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mike. I think it was really well stated and great examples given for what has worked in a space where a lot of things are still making their way. So I would really encourage anyone interested in this issue to reach out to Mike. John with Astral, and then only one more until a quick break.
Hello. All right. Hearing me, seeing me? Great.
Yes.
All right. One of the central questions at Kernel is how do we build technology that helps us live well, that enhances individual dignity and it supports our communities and ecosystems? And for me, the apps that do that best all help me connect with people, with knowledge, and with the world around me. The software that feels magical to me today is the software that understands my local context, where I am and what I'm doing. Just consider for a second how much of our connected life depends on location data to navigate safely, to meet friends, to share memories, to travel, exercise, vote, bank. And yet, despite all the creativity in Web3, we haven't seen location-based apps take off. The reason is simple, but it's deep. Blockchains are placeless by design. Ethereum exists in cyberspace, global and neutral. The decentralized web prioritizes open, durable, opt-in systems, but there's no native way to represent where something happened. And without that, we can't build systems that respond to a user's local context. This problem has been solved before. relational databases radically expanded their use cases when they added spatial extensions, which add some specialized structure and functionality. The small addition that turned general purpose tools into engines for location-based apps. The Astral protocol is a spatial extension for the decentralized web. At its core is the location protocol, a standard for signed spatial data, and spatial.sol, which brings geospatial logic to smart contracts. The location protocol is built on the Ethereum attestation service and is live on multiple blockchains. Location attestations are user-controlled geographic records, points, lines, and polygons representing check-ins, deliveries, boundaries, walks, memories. Location attestations can be kept private or shared publicly. Alongside this, we're building spatial.sol, a lightweight smart contract library for spatial logic, functions like containment, measuring distance, regional checks. We're introducing a new affordance for smart contract developers to implement on-chain logic that responds to users' locations. These tools turn Ethereum into a programmable spatial computing platform, a backend for apps that respond to place. And to make this easy to build with, we're shipping the Spatial Attestation Toolkit, which includes an SDK, an API, and user interfaces to work with location data, just like you'd work with tokens or accounts. We're introducing a new primitive to Web3, location, and we're starting just now to imagine what we can build when where becomes programmable. Location-based services plus DeFi enables lo-fi. We can build field data collection tools to verify climate and biodiversity impact, dating apps that respect our privacy, games that get us exploring the world. I want to keep building, and I'm looking for a place for this work to grow well through a grant or fellowship incubation within an organization. If you see potential of location as a Web3 primitive, let's talk.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Beautiful presentation and very obvious value, especially when you put it like that. Thank you. Next up and last before the short break is Nidhi and her work on DeFi in Web3.
Okay, I hope I'm visible, like the screen is visible, I'm audible.
Both, yes, yes.
Okay, just a second. Yeah. Hi guys, I'm Nidhi. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Oh, sorry, I meant welcome to Kernel Showcase. So my craft is Learn Web3 with Nidhi. There's reason behind everything, right? So let me take you guys through the reason why I started content creation related to Web3. So the first reason is me being a backend developer, then had lot of opportunity to face camera and I wanted to step out of my comfort zone. The second reason is I wanted to build and learn in public. The last and the most important reason is the general notion of Web3 and crypto is it's more related to tokens, meme coins, and some consider it to be a scam. And I feel there is this gap between the knowledge and the awareness of the users. And it can be filled by providing them education. And this education needs to be of high quality and freely accessible to everybody. So that's the mission that I have. And I want your support to bridge this gap. So now let's see where we stand currently. So on my YouTube channel, the first series that I've done was related to oracles. And the reason why I picked oracles was when I was trying to search for oracles implementation, the technical implementation, I couldn't find it myself. And currently, the series that is going on is related to DeFi. It started with kernel, and I wanted to learn DeFi myself. So I just created a tweet randomly, and then I saw lots of support from the community and it made me realize that there are many people who want to learn it too. So that's how the DeFi series was started. And now let me take you guys through the YouTube channel. So this is a glimpse of the YouTube channel. Very recently, we have crossed 500 subscribers, and currently the DeFi series is at a stage where we're discussing the protocols. And I would like to thank Vivek and Sid for providing the valuable feedback. In fact, Vivek was the one who suggested me to post content on Twitter, and that really helped me growing my audience. So uh, thanks a lot for that. And I get to see a lot of appreciation and comments from the community, which keeps me going on. So if you are somebody who is working in the DeFi space, or you want to chat about Web3 in general, then hit me up. So you can scan this QR code to follow the YouTube channel. And this is the handle that I have. It's same across all the socials, and I'm interested in exploring new opportunities. So hope to listen from some of you very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nidhi. Thank you for all that you've shared with us this block. It's been special. And anyone who's especially working in DeFi but around crypto should consider chatting to Nidhi. We'll take a quick break. I'll play a quick song. It is just another reminder. I mean, our hope is to work with talented people as they further specific projects and surprise the group with how welcoming and supportive a group like Kernel can be. And KBX has really shown us that that is still indeed possible in this era where maybe online learning is not the same as it was a few years ago. But I just want to say a thanks to KBX. We'll have apps open all the time from now onward. So if you know anyone who's interested, who might be working on something interesting, please feel free to send them this link or to let us know if you think we should meet them. Justin put this in the music channel. We'll play it for a few, and then we'll come back for the second set of sessions. The show must go on. Thank you for everyone in the first 10. We'll continue onwards in good rhythm with Amelia and Soulmates, followed by Jan and God's Power.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Okay. I don't know if I can present my screen.
It's just maybe if you'd like, Amelia, we could come back if.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Maybe I could share it with someone on the team.
That sounds good. Jan, if you're ready, transformational capital.
All right, let's see. You see my messy desktop. All right. Does that work?
I don't think so yet, Jan.
Okay. Hmm.
Now we got you. Nice messy desktop and hopefully.
All right. So I founded a VC fund, and while I really like to work with founders, sometimes I wish that I could invest more broadly, specifically, in projects that might not make a lot of money, but I think would be really beneficial for the world. And I'm not the only one. I think if we look at all across the spectrum between just financial investing to philanthropic, so there's like this finance to impact spectrum.
Jan, just so you know, I think we don't see the deck. If you do have something visual, it's just that
Okay, it's still the messy desktop?
it is still the messy desktop.
Okay, that's weird. How would I? Oh, sorry, that's a bit embarrassing. If I'm clicking on slideshow, that doesn't come up for you?
Unfortunately not. Yeah, we just see
You have two screens because maybe you need to shift to your computer screen.
Okay. Sorry about that.
no stress. We do now see it, and please feel
Alright.
free to continue. Yeah.
Yep. So basically, this is what I was showing here. There's a spectrum between finance and philanthropy. And right now, each and every one of these methods of investing, say from VC to charity, they're just sitting on that particular point on the spectrum. And I was wondering, okay, what if we had a vehicle that was investing across that whole spectrum? First of all, there would be synergies in terms of that portfolio approach that, say, responsible investing will return capital that can then be recycled into philanthropic efforts. So that's one benefit. And the other one is that the same type of thinking that is needed to figure out whether something is a good investment is often also required to figure out whether something would have a positive impact. So there's another potential synergy there. And then it's not just the notion of impact itself also seems a bit problematic in a sense that it focuses only on what can be measurable. So yeah, I really like this work by Landauer about 8 different forms of capital. And so, for example, social capital is one thing in particular that's yeah, seems very undervalued. And so this new entity of transformational capital would especially focus on these areas that are not easily quantifiable. So that's also why it's called transformational because it transforms financial capital into other forms of capital and because it also supports personal development across all the different entities that are involved. And then it could do that as a fund. It could help support companies to have similar approach where they, yes, have some financial goals, but aren't reduced to that. So there's these tools from steward ownership models to sharing the upside with employees and customers, like that we're pretty good at in crypto. And yeah, so it will be a catalyst for doing more of that. So that's the summary. Okay, we have full spectrum investing, doing a portfolio approach on that spectrum. we maximize the value created and not just extracted across these 8 forms of capital, and kind of keep transforming financial capital into other forms of capital. And then we will probably do that in a thesis-driven way. So that will be what unifies the different investments. So something like strengthening the social fabric as an overall thesis. And then we do that whether with a charity investment or a VC investment. And then we help businesses kind of adopt these practices as well. Yeah, this is how I imagine it look like. I will publish on my blog octopusyarn.substack.com some more thinking on this. So yeah, or you can also directly reach out if you're interested. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jan. I think it's a really special idea, one that we've been really trying to think about for kernel itself. So I hope others reach out, and the blog itself is fantastic. We'll continue with God's power and then come back around perhaps to Amelia.
Thanks so much, Ben. Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Gospel Eze. I'm a cryptography researcher and engineer from Lagos, Nigeria. Just a short story on learning, sharing, and doing hard things. So in 2021, I got into Web3. In late 2021, I got into Web3 after some years building web systems with Python and Django and all. And then I was learning about Solidity and trying to understand how Solidity fits into what I already know. And then I decided to start sharing, right? So I started sharing. And surprisingly, it looked like I was an expert, right? People started reaching out, and I got the opportunity to volunteer in communities and join companies and all that. But then I started nurturing this idea of how do you compete on a global scale? How do you make impact on a global scale? How do you show, how do you contribute to Web3 on a global scale? Now, when I say contribute, I'm not necessarily talking about like aiming high. I'm talking about how do you solve hard problems? And I came up with the conclusion that the way to do this is to do hard things. And because of that, in late 2023, I decided to join the Ethereum Protocol Fellowship. And after the fellowship, during the fellowship, I also got to work on the execution client, the Elixir execution client, consensus client. But then after that, in the spirit of doing hard things, I had 2 options. Do you go and get a job as a protocol engineer, or do you do another hard thing, which is taking a sabbatical, focusing on how do I even do harder things? So in February 2024, I took a sabbatical. Focused on cryptography, ZK, and math. I also studied a master's in mathematics during this time. And at the end of 2024, I had 2 options: go and get a job as a researcher or keep doing hard things. And that has led me to what I'm currently doing, which is independent research in lattice-based cryptography. So what is lattice-based cryptography? Without going into too much detail, lattice-based cryptography is a type of cryptography based on lattices. It's a top candidate for post-quantum cryptography, and it's a foundation for applications like FHE that we probably see. And so why am I doing independent research? I'm doing independent research for 3 reasons. One is beauty. I believe that one of the ways to create really groundbreaking work is to be able to ask why consistently without having a hard goal. And inspire too, I believe so much in the value of Africans being able to solve hard problems. So I'll quickly share my work. So these are some of the things I've worked on. Learn cryptography and ZK. Remember I told you about joining the EPF. This was what actually made me a fellow, which is a collection of cryptographic algorithms implemented from scratch. And then ModCC and some other works. All of these works were driven by beauty, which is just focusing on asking why consistently and not necessarily having a hard goal. So currently, my current work in lattice-based cryptography is divided into 2 sections. I run a series called Deep Dive on Lattice-Based Cryptography, which goes into the deep details of lattice-based cryptography from scratch. I'm trying to bridge the gap between basic level lattice-based cryptography and PhD level lattice-based cryptography, because the thing we see in the ecosystem that you see ready-made PhD guys that know these things, and it seems impossible for any other person to join. And also, I'm also building libraries and tools that help you understand lattice-based cryptography. You can quickly check, you can check my website for more on this, gospel.az.com. And finally, this is fully self-funded. I am looking for a grant of 36K, which should give me a 1-year runway. I'm also looking for sponsorship. You can check out my website for more on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Gaspar. I would highly encourage anyone interested in the subject to reach out, especially if your organization also is interested in privacy and cryptography. Thank you, Gaspar. I think we're ready to go back to Amelia's with Soulmates, and then we'll continue onwards with Dan and Connor afterwards. I think perhaps Alia is going to share the slides.
Thank you.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it. I'll just let you know when to change slides. So, hi everyone, I'm Amelia. I'm building Soulmates. Today we're more connected than ever, but most of us that feel that connection doesn't necessarily feel good. It feels very curated, transactional, and performative. Next slide. Sarah is an example, like millions of others, who isn't looking for likes or matches. She's looking for someone to understand her, and she's looking to be understood and meet the right people in person. We've normalized being alone together in today's society, but our question is, what if connection didn't start with a swipe? It didn't require you to join a members club or sign up for an event. What if it all started with intention? So next slide. With Soulmates, we want to introduce a different type of experience. So going back to our character, Sarah, she receives an invite to join a curated community in the city that she lives in. Once accepted, she meets Cupid, her AI companion, that she doesn't need to download any app or log into any sort of UI. She just interacts with it directly in WhatsApp or Telegram. Cupid learns who she is by analyzing her patterns safely and privately, and it never shows her public profile. She also wears the Soulmates bracelet, which is a physical representation of her intention. So the different bands represent her interests, whether she's looking for friends, relationship, a hookup, or just discovering herself more deeply. And that bracelet also has an NFC chip, which not only verifies her identity, but helps her connect with others. So when Cupid coordinates a meeting with someone, again, it doesn't reveal any public details on that person until they've met in person. Once they've connected and had one of their meet cute meetings in a local private place in their city, they tap their bracelets, which ultimately helps them build their IRL social graph online. So this is really an intentional path to belonging, where everyone who is part of this community needs to request, connect, and get to know themselves a little bit better before they meet others, and remember the connections that happen in person first. So every interaction ultimately builds your social graph. If we just go to the next slide. And so for Soulmates, what we're really trying to do is build the first verifiable social graph. It's powered by wearables, an AI companion, and encrypted on-chain to have a proof of presence, because what we believe is that the future of social is not who you follow, it's who you actually meet in person. And the reason why we find that now is the best time, sorry, the next slide, is that 68% of young adults are actually actively seeking in-person connections. We're seeing this a lot with the heightened popularity of apps like Strava or even run clubs. And Gen Z is really choosing a real world community first versus being online. Our business model, just on to the next slide, is a multi-revenue stream. So we have the bracelet sales, but then also the subscriptions for Cupid. And then ultimately that grows over time. So the bracelet really represents the status and intention in being part of the community, which builds the IRL social graph. Cupid continues to get smarter over time. And we also have activations and partnerships. I'm probably running out of time, so maybe just going to slide 8 and skipping over 7. But the way that we're going to market, we're focusing on Europe first. So where luxury, crypto, and community ultimately converge. I'm based in Lisbon, which is a city that I have deep connections with tastemakers in the space. And obviously a very popular city for crypto-friendly folks, as well as digital nomads. And then eventually we'll be expanding to Berlin and Paris. And then the last thing I'll just talk about is building the Soulmates universe. For something that's meant to be really intentional, we need to also build the community around that. So we're not focused on mass scale on day one. We are really focusing on curating the community, and the way that we do that is by actually interviewing all of our founding members and having it referral based. Establishing cultural credibility within those cities, so partnering with local tastemakers and businesses to really be a part of the city community. And then also just focusing on getting our community members speak about the community and invite the folks that they think would be a great fit. So just my ask for today, if you are based in Lisbon, we're actively interviewing members today for Soulmates. So please reach out either at soulmates.land. And then investors, if you're interested, we're also raising a pre-seed for the community. So thank you so much. And thank you for orchestrating my slides.
Thank you. Thank you, Amelia. I know we have some folks in Europe and at least a couple in Lisbon as a beginning, and we really appreciate your time today. We have next Dan Melendez with some work that he's been doing over the last few weeks, and it's been really inspiring to see.
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm Dan Melendez, and this is my kernel journey that's been more of a personal tech exploration. So I'll begin with who I am. I've been in tech for the last 15 years, primarily in operations, business development, and product management. During the last 2 years, I left Last Mile to pursue a more technical path in Web3. And what I realized is, as any emerging technology is driven by builders, so I needed to build something to begin building my career here. And I think that kernel is the perfect environment for this. I always dreamed to build a video game or a game, and this is how far I've gone attempting this dream, let's say it. So the challenge is how I can build something useful for the community while telling my story. A few mentors like Sid, Paul, and Drew share me a few open source repositories, MCP repositories in GitHub. And it happens that I can interact directly with MCPs using Python. In the end, an MCP is a fancy term to use a plugin to connect your external data with an AI service, primarily Cloud. So using MCP's open source repository, primarily the Python SDK and one called Two Truths and a Twist, I created a demo for a video game about contemporary art. You can go to the link. I also created a demo about Web3 2025 trends. And shout out to Alex, he shared me an open source database of Web3 projects where I connect again the MCP server to create an interaction through a Telegram bot. This interaction is aiming to share information about usage of open source and Web3 products. This is still work in progress, but you can visit the bot. And during the following weeks, I will be
Thanks so much. Thank you, Dan. Next, today we'll have Connor and the negation game.
Woo! If I can get my screen. Hello, my beloved friends. Have you started the timer yet? Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Loud and clear. We'll click start now.
Nice. So today I'll talk about how during kernel, what I've been working on are tools for groups, for communities to make decisions together. And in particular, we're working on an experiment with a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization called Scroll. These organizations, these DAOs that are funding experiments in governance. How magical is that? 10 years ago, if you had said you're working on governance, people would have said, for whom? It's not like there's municipalities that are adopting new governance systems. And we're so lucky to get to live in an era where there is demand for governance, for novel governance experiments. And this is decision making. So I'll show you one of these. This is a tool for exploring the reason why we at Scroll would pass a proposal. And so let's look at the delegate accelerator proposal. At Scroll, one of the questions they're trying to answer is, should we fund this program? It's about $100,000 program to bring on new delegates to Scroll. By the way, KBX fellows would be excellent applicants for this sort of thing, if we pass it. Up a tree of all of the different reasons why he may or may not want to support this particular proposal. Because this is the negation game, which you can visit at scroll.negationgame.com. Because this is the negation game, all of these are arguments against this thing. They're negations. And through a series of making negations related to one another, you build up something that is a little bit like a prediction market, because it has this financial component, and it's a little bit like a debate tree. And so whenever somebody is voting in Scroll, whenever delegates are voting, they're publishing these rationales. And these rationales allow them to increase the transparency and also the rigor of their decision making. We see that people are much more. This has been our experiment, our attempt to bring to the web rigor, intellectual honesty to our discourse. There's many other things that I can tell you about that are exciting. But one of my favorite things to do is to end with time on the clock. So I'm gonna do that. And it's been a joy.
Thank you, Connor. I'm really impressed with the clarity of the negation game and really appreciate you sharing it with us in kernel. Next, we'll have Christina, I believe, with Chonies.
Thank you. Really grateful for Kernel. So my project is Chonies and we do ecosystem weaving. In Mexican slang, Chonies means underwear. My mom is Mexican, so when I was young, we said chonies because good little Catholic girls don't say panties. So since we do attention curation, it's kind of underneath everything. So we get to play with the meme, like you don't wear your chonies on your head. What we're working towards is we want to produce gatherings so we can all recognize that we really share a lot of values and goals. And we do that by nurturing collaboration, composability, coordination. It's like open source ethos where we want to work together instead of wasting resources working in parallel. I think we can all kind of feel this. The Ethereum ecosystem vibes are not the greatest right now, but when we look at these kinds of tweets, most of the time these arguments on Twitter are with people who've been working on Ethereum for years. So what it tells me more is that they really care, because if it was all about the bags, they would have bounced when the chart went red. So with Chonies, we're really putting our attention and energy into ways to come together so we can set aside our differences and actually nurture the infinite garden. And we're focusing on 2 ways to do that. First is a digital hub. Currently, we have a website, but we would like to develop it more into a crypto culture lifestyle magazine. There's plenty of finance and tech, but we want to focus on ways where you can source your favorite on-chain creativity and play, things like puzzles and columns and comics, books, radio. And so right here, we're paying attention to curated information sharing. The second thing we're focusing on is weaving events. And so what you get from that is high signal conversations where we're strategically bringing people together in a space-time. It's like a dinner party where the host sits you next to someone you've never met, and by the end of dinner, you're best friends. So here the focus is curated relationship sharing. Here's some numbers, just some metrics from 2024, what we did. 51 partnerships facilitated, 1,000 event RSVPs. If you want more detailed information on that, I can send it to you. When we set out to do Chonies, there's no way that I could have predicted or prescribed just the high caliber of brilliant and conscientious people that I get to work with. Kernel included, I did not think I would be here right now. Just so much gratitude. So today we're requesting resources to foster the culture of the Web3 ecosystem. If that feels meaningful to you, please reach out to me directly. I am Bara Lucid on Telegram, also Discord and Farcaster. And you can always do subscribe, follow, etc. at chonies.xyz. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Christina. It's been a true pleasure. Please do reach out. I think that there's so many different directions the work can go. Next, we have Philip with Addresso. You see your screen, Philip? Just waiting on audio.
There you go. Thank you. We're on the cusp of the 9th evolutionary transition. There's been 8 in all of time, and there'll be another one in the next 10 years. Our massive transformative purpose is therefore asking the question, how do we want this transition to go? The emoji tells you on the left is how we don't want it to go. We want it to be a natural, decentralized integration of human and next level AI, humanity-centric. So our approach is incredibly nature-inspired, biomimetic. The 2 principles that we're bringing to life with Transition 9 is Gaia coding and local first. For life, everything is information. There's no distinction between the data and the program. And there's an equivalent concept in computer science, but it was only applied around a machine code, and we've kind of forgotten it since. So Gaia coding is the application of this generalization and expansion of all the reasons that we're excited about LLMs. Transition 9 establishes the potency that we find in LLMs everywhere. Local first is akin to the biological concept of organizational closure. Basically means that every one of us on this call can be seen as a whole. The computer science concept associated with that is local first software. So all in all, when you look at all of the different disciplines and our understanding of the world, Mother Nature is giving us more clues that we're onto something here than OpenAI had reason to believe that language models might do something interesting at scale. We're talking about a rich diversity of next level intelligences going beyond LLMs. And of course, we want to build it too. We've been building these sort of systems for 15 years proprietarily. We open sourced, and now we're trying to bring Web3 and AI together with Addresso, helping you store and organize wallet and smart contract addresses simply, privately, collaboratively, and securely. When we've asked people how they manage all the Web3 addresses that are important in their lives, whether they're their own addresses or other people's addresses or smart contract addresses or AI agent addresses, people typically use a client-side wallet, someone else's cloud, on your device, a server-side wallet in someone else's cloud, or a G Sheet. And we're trying to get all of these characteristics in one application. So I ask you to come and join us at Transition 9. If you want your organization to partner, you can find us easily, and we'll be hacking Addresso in the kernel Slack. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you, Philip. We're approaching the home stretch here. Alessandro with Glob Story. 2 more to follow.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Alessandro Rocco, and I'm a computer scientist and historian. And I'm very interested by the intersection of technology and politics, and that's why I applied to kernel. And but today I will present Glob Story. That is an application, a digital humanities application, so that people can study history in an interactive way. So the basic functionality is that a person search for a topic, where it download the article from Wikipedia, and so the user can read the article and at the same time also over the mouse on a place. So it could be here Germany, and the map is updated to that specific place. And if the user over the mouse over a year, the map then is updated to that specific year. And today I've just released version 2 of the software. There are several functionalities that can be added, like AI agents for different kinds of interpretation. And there may be also other concepts and schemes and the functionalities that can be added. But what I think is the most interesting part is that I'm in contact with the people from Open Historical Map, because basically the tool put together Wikipedia and Open Historical Map, and they really like the project. And then I received a very good advice from Susan about contacting Wikipedia. So I went on the Village Pump Idea Lab and I proposed to add the support for Open Historical Map inside Wikipedia with the interactive functionalities that I've made. And I received some good feedback. Then I had a call with some people from Open Historical Map, and the first step was building an user script. So right now there is the user script, and you can just add it to your profile, so you can navigate on Wikipedia and have the interactive functionality. As I said, what I think is interesting is the possible collaboration, because Open Historical Map is part of OpenStreetMap, and I know that Wikipedia had a sort of map department, but it's closed like 10 years ago. And because I was exploring also some kind of Web3 login, I was thinking that Globe Story in a way can be like a sort of, it can connect it to public tools like Open Historical Map and Wikipedia, and at the same time also be part of the Web3 space. I mean, the website is online, so you can go and check it. The idea is also to form a sort of DAO and a community so that people can create and develop tools for cultural goals. And here are my contacts. Thank you.
Thank you. Really cool progress on the Wikipedia front. It's good news to share. We have two last ones to bring us home. Justin with Delta Integral Protocol is next.
All right, good to go?
Good to go.
All right, sweet. We are playing the game of our lives, finding new ways of organizing ourselves to consciously shape a pro-human path of flourishing and a future dominated by computation. This transformative, mission critical work. Let me just double check we're good. No, so let's see. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Is that changing on your slide? Sorry, Vivek.
We are still on the regenerative leadership DNA.
Sweet. Not ideal. Here you go. Let's show this. How about now? Can we start? Sorry, my bad. Let's see. I'll do it this way. Let's do it this way. Okay. My bad, man. 1 second.
No
I got it. See how I can best do that, man.
If you'd like, Justin, we could go to Aaron and then come back.
Is that okay? My bad.
No,
Apologies.
no
All
stress.
right, cool.
Aaron, if you're ready, ghost context and Justin and Aaron, I think both have really made some really incredible contributions to this blog. So Aaron with ghost context, I'll come back to Justin.
Like, thank you. It's so funny. This is happening serendipitously, but I thought I was going to be the end, and then now I'm not. So that's like it relates to what I was going to say. Anyways, in a different context, at the very beginning of this journey with Kernel, I came upon the words "no endings, only bridges," and it seemed fitting to me that the last page of the last module would actually. And I'm going to share my screen, so I got ahead of myself with the switch up there. It seemed fitting to me and ironic in a very kernel sense that the last page of the last module would have this piece on bridges, which I was going to pull up. So give me 2 seconds. All right, so it is in this spirit that I hope I can share like an abridged version of my journey through this block and say it coherently enough that it conjures something in you, perhaps a bridge to a new beginning. So speaking of beginnings, how did I get here? You know, a couple years ago, I kind of, in my early encounters with Web3, I landed on this conceptual space that I called ghost context. And just to throw up the definition, how I define ghost context, which is, you know, any shared context generated at the intersection of our common experiences, interests, and connections that exist before or beyond the awareness of those who inhabit it. Surfacing and awareness of these types of shared reference points often deepens existing relationships, leads to new ones, and accelerates collaboration and belonging. And so to explore that space, I basically vibe coded an app that surfaced ENS names of other Web3 inhabitants who held similar collections, NFT collections as me. And to my surprise, I didn't know many of the people that surfaced. And so I reached out to a few of the top ones who held the most in common with me. And as it turns out, one of them was a former Kernel fellow, and he was the person that issued the first invitation to a kernel block. So in some sense, you know, I found the others. That's how I arrived here. But when it comes to kernel and my experience here, both the encounters with the others and the material in the kernel book have left an indelible impression upon me, and I'm only beginning to develop the language to pay proper homage to the experience. What I can say is that KBX challenged me to ask better questions. Most importantly, why am I interested in this context legibility in the first place? What is the underlining principle at work in this interest? So in my last combo with Vivek, we talked about this presentation. The arc of it would be share a principle, share a game I'm designing based on this principle, and invite others to play the game. So here's my first draft. I'll go quickly. I know I'm out of time, so I hope you all will give me the grace to share. You know, I'm interested in fashioning lenses for others to service various forms of ghost context, forms of context legibility. I believe that expressing our feelings of resonance or reverence in a way that is made traceable affords us access to context-rich, serendipitous, and synchronistic spaces, and that the public ledgers give us the opportunity to enter new spaces of conviviality that until now have been illegible or very difficult to discover. And so the meta game I'm aiming to design, meta in the module 7 sense, is going to invite participants to express their feelings of resonance or reverence they feel toward the kernel book and the references therein, and through the acceptance and forgiveness of honor. And then these expressions will be made legible to others that participate, both with me in the initial game, but also hopefully for others who follow, who join kernel and go through the curriculum at a future date. So that's the invitation. If you're interested in kind of returning to the beginning and sharing those expressions with us in the kernel book, that I would love to have you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Aaron. We have some early reactions to that invitation in the chat. We're technically at time, but of course we have Justin, and it is poetic, and I'm grateful to have him going last. Thanks for everything that you've contributed to this blog, Justin. And if anyone does have to go, we understand. We wish you well. But if you're able to stay, we have Justin Taylor with Delta Integral Protocol.
I think we got it. We are playing the game of our lives, finding new ways of organizing ourselves to consciously shape a pro-human path of flourishing in a future dominated by computation. This transformative mission-critical work faces structural and financial instability due to misalignment with traditional structures. An opportunity exists to build a bridge between new global systems and local efforts, creating new resource and value flows. Samara's Sanctuary Studios is a living laboratory, an intentional experiment designed to bridge human potential, technology, and community in regenerative ways. It offers a practical architecture of participation that designs human-digital interaction to enhance collective intelligence and harmonious action. We operate as a venture studio that supports mission-centered transformative work by connecting impactful local projects to a network of aligned changemakers, founders, and technologists ready to invest their time, talent, and resources. Building on the concept of network economies, shout out to Mike, Smart Sanctuary Studios is creating a microeconomy where collective value is captured and reinvested, moving towards self-sustaining resource flows. This microeconomy is a space where the people navigating the frontiers between cultures, disciplines, and the often chaotic digital landscape can build pathways to find meaningful and sustainable work. This fall, we are facilitating an intensive 10-week journey, our Fellowship of Synthesis, where a dedicated cohort of founders and changemakers will use structured design sprints to tackle a central challenge like enhancing youth well-being through intergenerational collaboration while developing emergent ventures or projects nurtured by our framework and community. By applying our integrated methodologies and prototyping solutions, we will collectively build a portfolio of initiatives and generate public goods that we offer through immersive learning experiences and publications. As a bridge to the fall, we're organizing the Summer of Synthesis, where we will be hosting a series of sessions on peer-to-peer leadership models, a book club exploring integral skills for personal and collective transformation, and a systems change weekend accelerator in partnership with the youth leaders of Dream Tank. This summer, we're also actively weaving into other vital ecosystemic experiences to build capacity at the core of the studio, such as collaborating in the Presencing Institute's Circles of Coherence, pioneering new forms of human organization and the Gene Key Star of Consciousness, and exploring the critical intersection of technology, consciousness, and ethics at the Monastic Academy. This intentional work is truly nurtured by a growing ecosystem of aligned partners and collaborators providing the supportive ground, diverse perspectives, resources, and collective intelligence necessary for the entire endeavor to flourish. Whether you resonate with the deep calling for inner transformation, the challenge of building sustainable ventures for good, the power of collaborative ecosystems, or the potential technology to serve humanity and the planet, there's a place for you in the Samara Sanctuary Studios ecosystem. I'll take like 45 more seconds, sorry guys. We invite you to join us for the Summer of Synthesis, contribute to our core team by applying for the Fall Fellowship, support the foundational experiment as a benefactor or philanthropist, or to lend your wisdom as a mentor to our team, fellows, or youth leadership. Yeah, I'll just end with an invocation. May we mold this centropic social field with the bruised heads, hearts, and hands of our humanity through harmonizing purpose, love, and prosperity in all that we do as our uniqueness synthesizes the most beautiful world. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
That's all she wrote. Thank you, Justin. Thanks everyone for sticking around. KBX may be ending, but the story continues for sure. We'll see everybody on the interwebs, and please do reach out if you have any thoughts for the stewards. And definitely, if you can think of anyone who might enjoy applying to Kernel. Take good care.
Thank you.